Hello, here we start our CSCI 380, our web programming and interface design. And for today's lecture, we will continue talking about the JavaScript. So it's more like complex like JS programs, or there are some key features we're going to cover. Of course, we'll go through certain the syntax or debugs or some examples. Okay, so far. Like when we using the Node.js for your like building your React.js project. So lots of them rely on it. So it's just helping you. Okay. So right here, let's say we giving a function. Okay, there's a function name, and then there's a like we're passing the parameters right here, like A and B. Okay, if let's say in this situation, if we're passing a number, okay, and a string, then what's going to be the result if we return like A plus B. So this one like you may try, okay, to practice, because so far you can see it's so 12, because we need to know one key thing is that JavaScript is called a dynamically like type language. So right here, if you treating like maybe you're thinking maybe in other programming language, it may giving you certain error, but for JS, be careful. If we passing a string, they adding together, so it will treat the one, okay, as a string two. So it's just doing concatenate. If you remember concatenate, so it's like adding, joining them together, so they treat it as a string. So the output would be 12. Okay, 1, 2 plus together, but we are not adding the number, so it's not 3. Okay, so just be careful, okay, when we're handling it. Or somehow when we create the right here, let's say we have the array, we create list. If we put in, let's say the 0 index, that means the first item will be test, and then the fourth one. So what's the result if we're using alert? Alert, that means reporting the notification bar over there. Okay, so what will the result? So it will telling you test, and then comma, because for the first index we do connect the element, but for the second one, third one, nothing, and then the fourth one would be 9. So here's we just like have some empty element in there. That's how we create the array list, right? Okay, just an application. And also let's say what the output, let's say if we have a mathematical equation like 1 divided by 0, so you should know it's an infinity, just like it's a math question. Okay, and also let's say the output of this, let's say we create a function, if you remember with the self-invoking function. Okay, so if I'm calling myself equals hello, and then what's the output? Okay, so it kind of like just error no output, because right here, so the ABC variable is out of the scope. So you just like be careful. If we talk about the var, let, and constant, so remember, okay, instead of function, okay, for the global. And so far, like for the JS, remember, because sometimes it's a small, but it is sophisticated, and also it's not a subset of Java. Be careful, and also it is also able to accomplish complex tasks. So it's a really like useful language. So far, we cover maybe certain types, like maybe see example, including the strings, number, Boolean, of course, function. Okay, we including some like undefined. Okay, or noun or object, we see like all these type we covered before. So as a number, so only like we say just one number type. So we sometimes when I say it's an integer or it's a phone number, or sometimes we say like doubles, whatever we're using in other language. In JS, we call it just a number. Okay, so it does not like map well to any like common understanding of arithmetic. So when you're adding like 0.1 plus 0.2 and then showing other things, so be careful. Okay, when we are using the JS to calculate certain numbers. Okay. And if we try to like declare right here, so if my var right here, what's the alert value? Because we didn't assign anything. So by default, it should be undefined. Okay, so any unassigned variables also we giving undefined value. Just remember this characteristic, and then with the now the not unnumbered. Okay, so you may see this example like before, and so it giving like sometimes it's erroneous or like undefined operation. So also it talks because any arithmetic operations, but the will result in that. So just be careful. Okay. Especially you're going to like fetch the data from the server and then calculate, and then if you didn't implement like using use of effect or using a synchronize or await function, okay, then you have always like no value and then try to calculate or sometimes the variable. So just be careful. So for the NAA, so now is not equal to anything. So be careful, including the NAA itself. Just be careful of this part. Of course, when we try to pass the certain numbers, okay, to the number function, we can convert it to a number, okay. So if there's some problem, so it's not a number, so just be careful. Or sometimes we have other function to say we can also convert like the phase in, okay, value, okay, 10, there's a digit, like decimal or the hex or the octal, okay. So like you can remember, so it's the what kind of units we're going to use. Okay, so if you didn't really specific, then we can like treat it. So anything like by decimal or somehow. Okay, so it will stop the first non-digit character. So if we go into pass, let's say phase in, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ABC, then we will only convert those numbers and we will stop by the first non-digit character. We will not convert anymore. So right here, you say all those. Okay, so we return all the numbers. Okay, stop at the first one. Okay, and then next we will have something. Let's say we have output if 1 divided by like it's a string 2. Okay, and then b equals to a plus 1. So what's the result of a? And you can see right here actually nowadays, because we will maybe 0.5 right here, like a, because we divide, because we convert it and we can calculate, and the plus 1.5, but you didn't get anything. Even though you think, oh, maybe if we divide by the string, if it's a number, the JS still able to convert it, but we don't have a result. Okay, and also maybe some like other JS output you can try. Let's say if we need to adding like cat times 2, so what's the result? Well, is because in a number we can do some like arithmetic, so it got a error. Okay, and also we have something like that null or undefined. So null that means the value isn't anything. Undefined, that means it's not like even that. Okay, just like the value for variable or parameter. So if you remember the previous question asking if we didn't assign anything, so it's undefined. So the values are missing member of an object, so we can say undefined. Okay, and falsely and truthfully. So it kind of like giving a false null or undefined. So if we, let's say we have a double quotes right here, so it's an empty string, so the length should be 0 or like the number. So all these, so all other like values, including all the objects like that truthfully, so it's 0, false. So all these will be say weighted string. Okay, so these are okay for the string. Just like be careful. And then we have the Boolean value. So we will return true. Okay, so if there's a truthfully or like or return false. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward for the Boolean. So when we, it's the same as other language. And how about the dynamic objects? So if we need to create a new object, we can use the keyword object. Then we can produce an empty container. So it's a name value pair. Okay, right here. And the name can be any string or any value. So except undefined. Be careful we not put any undefined. Also the members access like do like with the dot notation or subscript. So we can access by the dot notation. So right here, let's say if we need to create a new object. So of course, new object, okay. And then we can give it a dot notation, dot first name assign or dot age, okay. So or we create or declare variable like using the curly bracket right here, and then with first name, comma, and age. So they will be the similar syntax. So either way is okay. So depends on your habits, okay? And just a quick revision. So it's showing what's the following output. Okay, we have an object. Okay, so end docket is array 135. Okay, so if we want to access it, cat. So as we try to update it to hello, and then like end cat equals to 1. So what's the final output of end cat? Should be 1. Because we just say no matter how much we change, first is the cat, and then we assign hello, like replace it, and then if you remember the notation, like how can we access to the object, and then the mainly the key step is right here, dot cat, so we update it. So you can see like right here, we don't have specific like color type. Okay, so if you just like treat it is that every time when we assign, we create a new object. Unless we're using const, we can update, but with a var or let, we can update the variables. Then we can assign, just get the latest one. Okay. And also we have some like reserved words. Okay. Of course, there are so many reserved word lists right here, including abstract, Boolean break, byte case, catch, try and catch, right? So all these char class, constant, continuous, debugger, default. We see a lot like do while, okay, double else, if, enum, export, extend, all those like we handle the interface like force finally. Okay, so if you know for the switch case like for function go to if like implements, so all these are import. So our loss, so you can refer to all these like reserved work in the JS. Okay, you can check like false all the right here. So asking is a synchronized, is a reserved word in JS. Do you see the synchronized right here? If yes, then yes, right. Okay. So and we have the equal sign and not equal. So this operator can do the type constraints right here. So better you can like avoid in case if you remember, because we the JS, right, we handle those like even when we're doing arithmetic, okay, calculation, okay, so one can divide it by the string two. Okay, so if you really want to match like exactly like including type, then you can using the double equal sign, like add one more. So this one is not equal, so you can add one more equal sign. So we have to match the value, also the type, so it will be better, right? And also the switch statement, we getting a switch and then pass the expression right here in curly bracket, and then we giving different case, right? So you will see that based on the where they put the break. So if we go through all these punctuations, okay, so we go to all the punctuations and break, we jump it. So sometimes if you want to check in the, let's say, uppercase and lowercase, then you can like put the break in the last one, so it's okay, right? Also the default, okay, so none of about that we're going to do. So it's come back from the form of the decision logic. Okay, so we can try to compare to like lots of like if, else section. Okay, also this expression, that's the string, also numbers too. Okay, so just it depends on it. And when you look at something like source code giving you, we have the try statement. So like if we want to try doing something, and then if we can catch certain error, E stands for like error. So if it can make our code like more robust, okay, robust. So right here, when we catch certain error, then we can switch by the type. Let's say we catch the error and then something with no, we're going to throw it. So either way, okay, log it. So you will see most example I'm giving you is the try to fetch the data from the API server. So when you try to getting data from the server, maybe if you want to catch those error, then you can use try and catch. Okay, and for the next time we're going to cover talk about the Happy.js. Okay, how to build our API server. So once you need to retrieve the data from the API server or other like data like from other API server, then you need to use it. So it's a better practice. Also, sometimes we will try to fold the error. So right here, sometimes you see that we can fold the error, and then also we can declare on like some like the try exceptions by yourself, right? You can declare that was a throw. So right here, error was a reason name, exception name, a message. So you can pass the. So right here, how can we use as a throw, right? And also we are more about like the try statement. So the JS implementation can produce these exception names, including like error, okay, irregular range error, syntax type, or URI error. So all these can be okay give you. And if you remember, we talked about the var, right? Define the variables within a function. So that's where we go. And type, they are not specific. Okay, so be careful. This one, initial value, they are also optional. So you can declare it and then have initial value is okay without it. So you can use the comma to separate to create them. Okay. And of course, we do have scope. So we have a block, right? So for the they don't have a scope. So only the function have scope. So remember this part. And Rust define a function are not visible outside of the function. So be careful. And then we have the return statement. So you can return any expression result, or you can have a return, have a semicolon, and then right here, that means we have no return. Okay. So there's a no expression. So kind of like return value is undefined. So remember this one. So except for constructor, so those like return value is like is this. Okay. Later, if you remember when we talk about this, is pointing okay to this class, this function. Okay. So this what this belong to. And of course, we do cover the objects. We can connect data, methods. Also, we can inherit from other objects too. So if you remember, okay, so we have certain collection we can create. So it's an ordered collection of name and value pairs. Okay, and those like names, they are string, and value they can be any type. When you look at those like question, like the revision questions example, so we can including other objects too. So it's pretty good for like representing the records and trees. Okay, so every object lead to a database. You can do it in this way. So when you look at those example, and literals right here, so the literals I wrap in the curly bracket inside right here. So we can names or strings by like docket or using the square bracket, okay, like this, and give a name. So either way, and then the value can be expression too. Okay, so we can separate the name and value by the like different way. Okay, separate pair, commas right here. And there are also some objects like literals that can be used like anywhere. Okay, so just when they appear. And those are examples of like the objects like literals right here. So you can use a curly bracket. Okay, and then we separate it. Okay, and then we can also access it like filling the name. So if a quote, because if you remember, it's the string, so we need to have a like single quote, double quote. It doesn't matter, square bracket or the dot notation. Either way, we can access the value. Okay, just remember. And also, let's say if we try to have a like giving a make a function and then pass the like the parameters, okay, right here, and then create the var right here. Okay, so each, and then like name. Okay, how can we access it? Go equals to. So you can see it applies several ways. So it can help us then make our code like cleaner, more reliable, readable right here, and then we can easier to like debug or customize. So we can like create a function in this way. Okay, how can we make it? And of course, if you remember, we say the characteristic. So right here, we can also like connect other expressions, other object. So we can see right here when we create object, and then of course we can create another object. So right here, so this is a JSON format we call the Java Simple Object Notation. So sometimes when we passing the data, so it's the most like organized to pass data to client. So most of the time when you receive the data, when we implement our Happy.js return format, we try to do it in this way. Okay, just remember. And also I'm giving you, let's say we have function and create the tab. So also we can pass the object literal as a function variable. It is also possible. So either way is okay. So you can see we have multiple. It just depends on your style, your regular your habits, like you like to do that. Of course, we can have some like new member added to an object by simple assignment. So we don't need to really define a new class, right? So we can do it on fly or dynamically. So right here, object, the format, the column right here, or the right here, my objects, and then you can give a name and then assign the value. So either way, so pretty good for the argumentation. Okay, and of course the methods, so we can like all the objects that are linked directly or indirectly to the object, like the prototype. Okay, so right here, so all the objects that inherit some like basic methods, but they do have some like limitations, just like we have no like copy methods or like equals method, so we don't have it. Just be aware of it. So the overall structure, so we see like three expression, right? So exactly the same result. So we can have all those equation of an empty object. So we can have a new objects, the curly bracket, or like the objects are object of passing a prototype. So we can create all this. Okay. depends on habit, but sometimes we say the curly bracket one is the preferred form. So that's how can we create. We don't have to put all these object, new object, and assign value. So, and of course we have some like references or like values. Okay, so objects can be passed as arguments to functions. So we can pass the whole object, or we can return the objects like by the functions. Okay, also we can see when they're passing, they're by reference. So if you know, like we passing it by the reference. And then the triple equal sign operators, like when we compare the object references, not the values. Okay, that ones are mainly for objects, remember? So if we true of both the operand are the same object, then it will be true. Okay, so be careful of this one. Of course, after we finish, maybe we want to delete. Okay, so the member can remove from an object for the delete operator. If we want to remove the name, okay, I don't want to keep it anymore, then you can use a delete. Okay, and of course, one part is the array. So all those are array inherited from the objects. Okay, and the index, so they are converted to strings and used as a name for retrieving like values. So here, and also it's really efficient for like separate arrays. Okay, and also the advantage for it is no need to provide the link for type when create an array. So it's a benefit that compared to other language somehow. Like you need to declare in the beginning. Let's say what's the length of it, then we can assign value for this one. You don't have to another object, so it has a length member. If you remember, we can use let's say my list dot length, then you can return how many elements. So you can create it like using the square bracket. So you can use the separate the comments right here to do. And you can see we can put in the string the numbers together. Okay, and also we can using the like append, like using the last index, because when you pass the my list dot length, right? So you know, because the index begins from 0, so that's why the length will be a last digit. So when you writing let's say array or loop, okay, when you're putting the list length, we always append to the last index, last position. Okay, so also the square like bracket is preferred to the new array, because if you know, like we can create a new object, also we can use a new array to create an array, right? So you can see, and also we have other methods like using for array, so including concat, we need joining two array together, join, okay, and then pops, push. Sometimes most of the time we handle if we want to adding the new elements, or like remove an element from the array, so we can use like pops and push. Okay, and then also slice it, break down short, okay, splice. Okay, so right here, and it's the same like for the object, we can delete the one of the elements. Okay, after we remove it, so the element, but the leaves, they are like hold in the numbering, so you need to be careful. So when we remove it, so the leaves will be a whole. Okay, so if we are using a splice right here, we will remove the element and we number all the following elements. Okay, so here's the differences. So that's why we have another function. Okay, so if we delete it, so it's just like it doesn't exist, but there's a hole over there. But if we want to renumber it, remember, okay, to use it. And just give you an example, so delete it. So you will see undefined right here. But if you're using splice size 1, okay, index 1, and then just one element, it becomes AC. So the length, it becomes to 2. Okay, but for this one, it will maintain at 3. But the middle one index 1 is undefined. So here's the differences. So far, when we compare, so object is like when we have names, they're like arbitrary like strings, but for array, when the names are sequential integers, so it's more like in this way. So based on your situation, like how we're going to use it, like either array or objects. Okay, and we also talk about the functions. Okay, function, they can be like pass, return, store, just like any other values. Okay, so they are inherited from the object, so remember, and can store name and value pairs. That's how the function is doing. Invocation right here, so we can like create a function, give a name, and then just right here, or self-invoke. So you can check or compare the syntax. So we start with the curly bracket and comma, right? So it's pretty similar to the function. and then we pass it itself as a function, give a function name, and then curly bracket. Okay, of course, we have another bracket here as a pair. So here's a syntax different, or sometimes if we have no name, okay, also we can create in this way. Okay, so the same, we just didn't any name. Okay, so here's a different way. Of course, you learn the arrow function too. Okay, and so far. Quickly, okay, so for this one is doing for the no name function. Okay, so right here. So what does this do? Nothing, because it only like creates and declares function, but the function declaration, they are not invocable. So this like for no namesake invokes, you can use this way. So you can compare the syntax, right? Bracket right here, bracket right here. Okay, so you need to pay attention. Okay, first part, and then curly bracket. Okay, invoke function and close it. So you can compare the differences. Okay, and then also we talk about the function statements. Okay, those are function statement, maybe just like shorthand for the var statements. So with the function values. So like if we're giving the function right here, we can expand it. So we can assign function. Okay, assign to the var. Okay, so we can do it in this way. And also we have some like called the inner functions. Those functions can define inside other functions. We call that nested function. So function in functions. Okay, and inner function has access to the variable and parameters of functions within the scope. Okay, remember, and also known as static scoping or lexical scoping. So when we try to define, let's say we have function and then we have var DOM, like getting the element. Virtual DOM will be covered later, and then we create another function called stat, right? So and then we have the variable x right here. Okay, levels, and then we have the DOM style background. We change the background style and then change the timeout like this. So the function steps inside the function fade. Okay, so right here, so it's a nested one. It's an inner, and also the methods like or the function we talked right here. So since the function, they are values, okay, function can be stored in objects. Also, the function in an object also we call it method. Okay, so here's the differences. Invocation right here, we talk like if a function coded with too many arguments, so maybe some like extra argument they are ignored. So be careful, like if you put to me, so it's okay, it's a no. And also a function code with like too few argument, the missing value will be undefined. So here's the two differences. Be careful, and also no implicit type checking on the arguments. So here's pay attention. And when we call the function, of course, the function form, okay, we can call it language function pass the arguments, okay, and also like the another one is like when we calling, okay, this object with the method names passing argument, or the like this object the method names, okay, and then pass the argument. So either way it works, right? If you learn about the objects when we talk like because function came in the object or constructor. So we have new function and then giving it and then pass the argument, right? And it's pretty similar to JavaScript. This JavaScript is similar to Java, okay? And also like apply form, so we can use the apply and then which object, like function object, and then which object you're pointing to, and then what's the argument. So we can pass it as argument is the already. So it can be have 4 different ways to call function. And those arguments, like will be the variables, like those numbers. So including, let's say, if we need to find a number argument pass, arguments dot length, okay, and then we can access by the variables or the index of the argument, okay, passing in this way, passing. So what's the first argument, second arguments, okay, so we can check. Sometimes, okay, when we pass it. And also here's giving a list like of a type of you want to compare. Okay, I want to make sure the type of the value we're passing, or like then you can see the return string. So it's showing sometimes like it's a maybe for type like object it should be object, function, array it should be an object, number is a number, string is a string, boolean. If a null is written, the type of is object, and the undefined always undefined. So just be careful. Only the array and then the null they return as an object, right? So you can check. So let's say right here, what's the output of it? If we create the var AB equals to 2, then we go to showing what's the type of AB. So it's a string. like straightforward. And then the next we have the prototype like inheritance. There's some like language have the like let's say classes, and then we have methods, constructors, modules, all this, and all the JavaScript functions that do all this. Okay, so we are able to use the prototype. And of course we do have some like objects like global one, and then the container for all like global variables and all built-in objects. And the browser window is the global objects. Okay. Later when we need to work on the virtual DOM, okay, or the access value, then you will see what's the window meaning. Okay. And the global variables, they are bad. Okay. Why? Because function within application like impact each other. That means if we have multiple function and then we try to like even all the function access it and change it so they can really impact each other. And also corresponding application can injure or impact each other. So when we use the global namespace should be minimal. Be careful. Okay. And also the global like implies so any like one which are not properly declared, so assume is global by default. Okay. And also make it easy for people like who do not know or care about the encapsulation, so to web productive. Okay, right here. So it will make the application less reliable. Here say, or JS link right here is the tool help us to identify the implied globals and other weakness. So you can like go and check. And encapsulation, we're talking that the function scope can create an encapsulation. So we can use a numerous like function to web viewers. Okay, if you look at some like JS code or like on the HTML, so you see we try to create a function like create first bracket, post bracket, curly bracket right here. Okay, so if you still remember the previous slides when we talk about different like for different web function, there's a one of it. And just telling you, if we want to give like coding conversions in JS, remember they are critical importance for you, and always adding the semicolon. Because for JS, it accepting like no semicolon or not, but for better. So when the command see an error, it attempt to replace the nearby like the line fit with a semicolon and try again. So here's things. So that's why it should like alarm you. So try not like don't annoy it. Also, it can make mask the error. So always use a full correct forms, including the semicolon, because you know JS accepting no semicolon, but remember to add it. Okay, remember. And comma right here, so we can like avoid like some tricky expression using comma operator, and do not use that extra commas in our editor. So right here, if for the comma right here, we're showing we have 3 elements, right? If you add one more, that is really bad. We're thinking, okay, there's a undefined element. So it's a fourth. So you need to be careful of all these syntax error or something like the typos. And when we create a block, try to using the curly bracket. Okay, even there's a one line statement. Okay, only you have one function. If you're doing this or like, then it's a bad. Okay, so always giving yourself a good habit. Always create a block. Okay, and then giving some commands. Okay. Also, there are some like forbidden block. So we do not have any scope in JS. Okay. Also, like the blocks should only use that in the structural statements. Okay. So let's say function if, switch, while, for, to, try, or this. We need to edit. Remember, we need to. And so far, we quickly go through all these like more about JS, and then show you more example related to those like language and syntax, and some features and standards. Of course, how can we give them a good like styles and good practice, and quickly cover everything. And thank you so much.